Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Now this is another record review, but before I do that I'm just going to do a quick update on prices rather than do a separate news video because literally there's just this one price rise to talk about. Rega have emailed saying that the price of the Planner 2 is going up by about £25, so it's going from 475 to just under 475 to just under 500. There is a reason for that, which I'll talk about in a sec. But basically, if you want to get one at the old price, if you can give me a call before the 1st of July, I can sort you one out. And don't forget, I can change cartridges as well. If you want a different cartridge than the carbon, I can put you in whatever you want, really, to be honest, and just knock the price of the carbon off. So I still do that. But yeah, like I say, price has gone up. The reason the price has gone up is that the price of the glass platters have gone up as a spare part. Well, has gone up and as a spare part by a lot of money, Rega have sort of absorbed this. So the P3 isn't going up, the 6 isn't going up, and the 8 isn't going up. But the 2, I suppose, there's too much to absorb because the platter's gone up. Well, it's doubled actually. I was charging about £60 for a glass platter for a P2 as a spare because lots of people buy them for P1s, and at that it's good value at that because it's a big improvement. But they're going to have to be about 115 now. I've not actually had a final price from Rega, but looking at the costings of the trade prices and everything, it's going to be around that. And I used to put £10 on. I think they were about 50 something, and I used to make it to 60 because the postage is really expensive because they're over the 2 kilo limit and they're over this the size for they have to be medium parcel size, so it makes them expensive. So yeah, I reckon 115 is going to about around and about where they're going to be when they sort of put the price up. So yeah, it's scary. But yeah, that's just like it's another pandemic thing. Certain things have gone up by a lot of money recently. So yeah, nothing we can do about it, unfortunately. But anyway, back to the review. People who know me well will know that I'm very into all things French. French cars, French music, French. Going to France. I've got to France a lot of travel. I think our camper van has done more miles in France than it has in the UK, actually. But yeah, I bought an album. Must be getting on for 10 years ago. I can't remember why I bought it. Thought the cover was interesting. I'd vaguely heard of the artist. I might have heard something on YouTube, possibly. It was one of those. I think there was some reason why I bought this. I can't remember what it was. Bought the album, played it. I thought, I'll probably never play this again. This is just too mad. And I tend to get a little bit irritated. I'm going on a tangent here. Car reviews. Whenever they review a French car, they'll always use the word quirky, particularly Citroen, brands like that. Oh yeah, the quirky new whatever and it really annoys me. Why? Well engineered, not quirky. This is a complete tangent. But for this album, which is Camille, I Love VU, this is quirky in capitals and in bold, exclamation marks, and underlined 3 times. Quirky is the only thing that really describes it. Camille is a French artist, very good singer. She's quite a good songwriter to a degree, but although lyrically there's a lot of the tracks on this are just repeated phrases and things like that. It is bonkers. It is totally bonkers. You can't actually really pin it down to what's going on this album at all. There's beautiful ballads, then there's children's nursery rhymes, then there's it goes from swings from one thing to another, sort of very big rock track. Like I say, first time I played this, I thought that's it. I'm too mad. I'll never play that again. And over the next few days, I had all these tunes in my head, sort of the sort of earworm thing. I kept these tunes. I thought I'm gonna have to play that. I'm gonna have to listen to that album again because it hasn't left me. It's still there in my head. I can guarantee that most people, if you listen to a few tracks off this, you'll just say, "Oh, that's rubbish." But over the years, it's grown on me to the point of I think it's in one of my top few favourite albums. I love it. There's some tracks on here that are absolutely wonderful. And if you watch any of her stuff on YouTube, there's sort of different versions of the tracks. There's the album tracks, and there's a few sort of almost performance pieces, and you'll see what I mean when you watch. It's almost an art housey sort of performance type thing that goes on. It's not so much the song as the way she sings it or what she does when she's singing it. I mean, there's one track that she's eating a banana as she sings. There's another track where somebody's either cutting her hair or braiding her hair as she's singing something. It's all very close photography, and there's one where I'll talk about the tracks. I think that's probably the best, and I'll talk about the tracks. I've actually made notes. This isn't really me, is it? So I'll be squinting at bits of paper every now and again. I've made notes about the different tracks because they are so radically different to each other. I sort of needed to talk it through a little bit. First track is called Aujourd'hui. Basically just a poem. So for the first track on an album, if you want to try and sort of disassociate yourself from your audience, starting off with a poetry it's kind of poetry, kind of sung, kind of not sung. It's who knows? It's just a bit of an odd track right at the beginning, and I can see people playing it and thinking, no, not for me. Before you even get to track two, which is L'Aujourd'hui, excuse the French. Is absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful little big ballad, beautiful sort of chord changes and melodies, and entrancing track. Absolutely gorgeous track. Complete at odds with the first track. Then there's a track called Allez, 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 which is one of the ones that got into my head, that I just kept hearing this tune in my head. That's very much like I used to do at school, like a round. It's repeated phrases, like in a round format, sung by children. At one point it seems as though the recorded voices are played backwards. It gets a little bit bizarre at times, but it sticks in your head, and it's just that I think this is the one that on the YouTube version she eats a banana and she's singing it. Very strange, but like I say, it's grows on you. Very much grows on you, and yeah. Anyway, the next track's called Wet Boy, and that's again nice little ballad. Not outstanding track particularly, but it's quite a nice little ballad. After this, there's a track called She Was. Now there's a great version of this on YouTube with just her guitar and guitar. It's very, very emotional actually, and I think I can't work this out. You have to send me an email on this one. What is She Was about? I'm thinking it's about a cat that's died, and that's as far as I can. It's sung in English. That's as far as I can get with it. It's almost as though she's talking about a best friend, and then when the cat dies, she realises it's actually just a cat. And yeah, it's a very, very strange song, but it's beautiful, and the emotion it is quite sort of entrancing to listen to that. Then we go to Mars Is No Fun. Now this is more, on this she sounds, I think, very much like, I wrote it down, very much like Ricky Lee Jones on this. Very odd song, sung in English. And it's basically, this is more lyric-y than a lot of the other tracks. There's not so much of the repetition. I'll try and read a bit of the lyric, but I haven't got my glasses on. It's basically about moving to Mars, buying a brochure about living on Mars, moving to Mars, and being very disappointed with it, and feeling like you've been done. It's a great subject for a song. But there's one of the verses is, I want to go back on Earth and live with you in our social housing and wander all afternoon in the shopping mall of Milton Keynes. So that's the level. And another line about you can't open. Nobody told me you couldn't open a window because there was no air outside. She is a bit bonkers, but she kind of pulls it off. It kind of works. After that, we've got Le Burger. What was Le Burger? Oh yeah, the French. Kind of sung in French, but there's a Chinesey feel to it. It's like some of the chord changes and the sort of it must be the key it's played in. Sounds kind of Chinese, so that's a bit weird, but really nice. It actually at points the vocals are very distorted. Now whether that was intended or not, I don't know. It kind of spoils it for me that actually, but I think it might be just she's mad enough to do that, and we just have to accept that she's probably is mad enough to do that. Next track. Another weird one, a bit of a Frenchy sort of trying to think what it reminds me of, but it's called Bubble Lady, and it's almost like the music. The music was written for an advert. The main instrument seems to be two different people going all the way through it, but it's got its own little charm. It isn't a track you just sort of play it just for a laugh. Really, it isn't something. It's not really a serious track. I'm just going to stop and get the phone. It always happens this, doesn't it? What is it? I'll just answer the phone and I'll be back to you. I'm back. On that note, yeah, where were we? Bubble Lady. Yeah, very Frenchy sort of feel to it, but sung in English. And like I say, like it was made for an advert. Probably wasn't, but it was just bonkers. Then we move on to the title track, which is I Love You. They're you, which you will have hopefully worked out by now. It took me over a year to realise it wasn't Latin. Anyway, I might have just said that, but. Title track is superb actually, but it's again slightly mad because she has. You'll see this on the YouTube thing. She sings on some of the songs. She sings different parts all at once and in different voices, and this is the main one for that. It's almost as though it's a duet between, well, not duet at all, between Louis Armstrong. Yes, she's almost trying to sound like Louis Armstrong. Kate Bush, Bjork, and Yoko Ono. I've heard elements of all those people within the song. She sings a sort of bass part and a high part, and the high part, like I say, fluctuates between Bjork, Kate Bush, and Yoko Ono. Very, very Yoko Ono at one point, but it kind of pulls it off. It's a great song. I really like that. However mad it is, I really like that one. Then after this, we've got a track called Message, which is basically it's another sort of nursery rhyme type thing, which is okay. Then Lafrance, which is a complete departure. If you can have a departure on an album like this, which doesn't seem to have any particular direction anyway, Lafrance is kind of Edith Piaf. It's Camille doing Edith Piaf. The rolling of the R's and all this sort of thing. It's a great track actually, but it is a bit incongruous with the rest of it, but it's a great track. So a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I think it works quite well. After this, there's I could never work this one out at first, but I actually love this now. But this was one that it took me longest to love, I think. And you need to see the YouTube video of this. You really need to see the YouTube video of this. A track called My Man's Married But Not to Me. And it's sort of, it's a bit of a loud track on what is basically quite a quiet album. What's quite good about this is, and it's used quite a lot through the album actually. It's double bass, and I think sort of pizzicato played on, I think, either a cello or a violin, and that's the so there's a very rhythmic sort of backing on it, and her vocal. Quite rocky track this. And at one point, it's basically her singing about having an affair with somebody who won't leave his wife. But halfway through, she decides start singing about a horse. And on the video, which you need to see, there's one of them doing it in a looks like it's in the corner of a hotel or something, and it's like I say double bass, cello, and her singing. And halfway through, she does an impression of a horse as she's singing, and it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. It is just absolutely crazy, but entertaining. I mean, you can't help but love her actually. But yeah, horse impression, Edith Piaf, no problem. Yoko Ono, why not? Kind of one of their albums. Then there's a track after that's called Pleasure, which is just sort of, I was going to say unaccompanied, but it's her and I think her just sort of possibly just tapping a foot. That's a beautiful song. Shows a vocal range and the sort of she has got a great voice. Then Le Banquet, which I'm just trying to remember what that is. Yeah, vocal and guitar. That's a nice song actually, but that's beautifully done. I mean, probably there's a few tracks on this album that are worth it just for the one track really. And the last track, which is the real earworm on the album, is 2D, which is her again singing two parts. Quite interesting. I think this is the one where on YouTube where she's kind of having her haircut or braided as she's singing, when it's very arty shots of. But it's sort of a little bit of vocal gymnastics, but it's brilliant. It's really first time you'll hear that, you'll think, no, mad, too mad. But it gets into your head. There's another one, 2D, yeah. It's basically her singing 2D and then another line at the same time, and it's absolutely entrancing, really, I find, with that. So, as always with albums, people will hate. Don't email me and tell me you hated it. I'm sort of warning you that I think 90% of people will play some tracks off this and think, no, it's not for me, hate it. But it's a shame, because I think if you stick with it, it's got some fantastic stuff on it, and you just have to sort of push aside the madness and appreciate the talent that's on there, because she is extremely talented. I think that is the thing that comes across to me, is she's an extremely talented girl, and it reminds me a little bit of some of the albums that Paul McCartney did after he left the Beatles. That I'm doing this because I love it, and I don't care whether you like the album, like the tracks or not. I mean, if you look at Ram and things like that, there's just stuff about his family and things, just random things done, and almost sound effects and crazy stuff going on. That's what this is like. It's as though she's just having a whale of a time writing music, and I love her for it. I think it works really well. So that's Camille. There's other albums as well, of which I haven't purchased, but I will. There's one fairly recently come out, I think, which I must get. So yeah, recommended. I'll see you in a future video. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a like. See you soon. Bye bye.